Okay.
Welcome to the show, and today our guest is going to be Joni Phillips. She is a member of 3 Hall of Fames, played professional basketball, played overseas. She has coached at the college level, and we should just be able to have a great, interesting conversation today. Welcome to the show, Joni.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you.
Let's just jump right in. You are a member of 3 Hall of Fames, your high school Hall of Fame, the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame, and the Naismith Hall of Fame. Talk a little bit about what it meant to be inducted into those and how that came about, especially the Naismith. Obviously, that's the most prestigious of the 3.
Yes, that was the best one of them all, and the Blackford High School one was nice too. It was that was very interesting. Yes, the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame was the utmost. It was as a team, of course, and it was the first women's team, the only women's team actually that has ever been inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. So that was interesting. The class of 2012, and they put on a grand show. They gave us great luncheons and just a big nice accolades, and so it was wonderful to sit in a crowd with all of the greats. Reggie Miller was in that class, our class that year. He gave a wonderful speech, just a nice man, and all the greats. Michael Jordan, saw him, had a picture taken with, now I'm aging myself a bit, but one of the Celtics, I've almost forgotten his name. Oh, gosh. Well, I will say this. It wasn't a Celtics, but I also had a picture taken with Coach Krzyzewski, one of the nicest gentlemen I have ever met in my life. And Van Chancellor was there. Oh, it was great. It was very great. The Women's Basketball Hall of Fame, I was still in the military when they were inducted into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. So I didn't really get to enjoy that one like everyone did, but I saw pictures and such. And then they began reunions, and so I got a little bit of information from the reunions that the Redheads would have, and then, of course, spoke with you and about the induction into the Blackford Hall of Fame, which was it wasn't surprising, but it was surprising. I was very pleased and very honored. I'm honored to be in all of them, on a team or on teams that participated. Not I myself, but it's an honor to be in all of them, for sure.
When you were in high school, obviously things were a little bit different. I think it was more AAU, or I'm not exactly sure what the acronym was of what they did. But I told you before we got on here, I noticed that during a 3-year span, the girls basketball team went 20-3 while you participated. And now they play 23 games in a regular season each year. So obviously girls sports has changed tremendously since your days in high school. Talk a little bit about, how things were and how glad you are to see things have changed.
Yes. My first year in basketball, participating in basketball, we played with 6 women still. So now that will tell you a little bit. And that was in 1970, actually. Not that long ago, really. Well, 50 years, but that's not that long ago. And then, of course, went to 5-person teams, and was so much more fun to do that, run the whole court instead of just half the court, unless, of course, you were a rover. Then you got the whole court. I wasn't that lucky. But anyway, I was very glad to be able to play the 5-man ball. And we had a very good team. The 2 years that I was in Blackford High School, actually 4 years, I'm sorry. And we had a good team. We had a wonderful coach, Virginia Peckham-Paul, rest in peace. She was a wonderful coach, and we had a good team. I could mention a lot of them, but they know who they are, and we had a lot of fun. Granted, we didn't play that many games. We would have liked to have played a lot more games, but now it has gotten better. I was recently reading about the Fever that are the local Indianapolis team. They play, I believe it's a 34 game season. And so it's come a long way, but it's not anything like it should be. Now I'm not going to go into that, but it's come a long 50 years. It's come a long way.
Yeah, I don't believe in our previous conversations that girls sports were looked at as legit. I guess I don't know other word to use there, but when especially when Blackford High School got started, it just seemed like it was an afterthought, and they did it maybe more because they had to and not because they were giving you a full support. Talk a little bit about what went through even being in girls athletics in high school.
Well, what it was like, you mean to be in girls athletics in high school? Yes, it was a lot of fun, but it was almost, as you say, felt like an afterthought. Well, the consolidation of the schools, of course, brought more women and young girls together to play. And I don't know that the administration, the AD and such, might not have been prepared for all of the women and young girls that were willing to play and wanted to play all of the sports. So it was a struggle back in the day to be looked at legitimately. Let me put it that way. Oh, it's just the girls. That's how it felt like to me. Still feels like that sometimes today. Oh, it's just the girls, But back when I was in high school, it was hard because that's what I loved to do, was play anything there was. Volleyball, basketball. We didn't play softball. In the early years, we did not. But anything that there was to play that had to do with a ball, oh boy, I was ready. And I think all the other gals were too, but we just didn't get that big of a chance.
When I saw you played basketball, volleyball, track, you were part of the bowling team, part of the badminton team. So obviously you were participating in everything that you could.
Absolutely. Yes, I did. And the badminton was wonderful. We went to state, and we, of course, second is, what do they call, first loser, but second, we were beaten by the best, and I'll never forget it. Cook and Gunkel were their names, and Cook was very tall and Gunkel was very short, and Cook had an arm span of, oh my gosh, wide, and Gunkel could run so fast. So Cook and Gunkel beat Phillips and White for the state championship, but we sure had a lot of fun. I did. Well, one couldn't get with their long arms, the other one got with their speed. So
that's good.
That was fun. It was fun.
And then you also made it to the state finals on the bowling team.
Yes, that was almost an afterthought too. Although I had been bowling, my father taught me to bowl. He bowled in a league, and he and my mother bowled, my brother bowled, my sister bowled. So we were a bowling family. And but there again, you speak about an afterthought. I had almost forgotten about bowling. That's how little we got to do. And to be honest with you, I can't even recall going to state. Now that's probably the awful thing to say, but I recall bowling at the alley there in Hartford City, not the one now, but the one before.
Right.
But that's it. I don't recall state. I'll have to look into that, Chris.
I think I remember reading you finished 8th in the state as a team the year that you guys won.
There you go. Well, that's great. I have to know that.
I did a lot of research, so I've got a lot of notes.
I'm sure you have, Chris.
You played overseas, and then you were part of the Redhead professional team. What was it like back then to be – there probably weren't very many professional women's teams in any sport, I would imagine. So talk a little bit about what it was like then. And I know you and I have talked before. It wasn't like the Globetrotters. You weren't taking a team to travel with you that you beat 364 out of 365 games. You were playing against men and a lot of real competition.
Yes, we were booked into schools, and we would play, say, the JCs. It was money making for both sides. The JCs might book us in, or even the coaches of the school, Lions clubs, things like that. And it was money making, as I said, for both parties. And then we would go in, and of course, we played touring professional rules. And that meant that there was no 3 seconds in the lane. Now that's just as good for the men as it is for the women. Because we one time, and he was 7 foot, he parked himself in the lane, and I'm telling you what, he held his hands up, and they passed him the ball, and there it goes. So see, it was not always to our advantage. Wasn't meant to be. It was just
Right.
a way we played, and we were able to show our comedian and the things that she did. So playing that way was a lot of fun, but it was new in that we barnstormed. A lot of people thought, no. I talked to people that said, barnstorm? You weren't a barnstormer. You weren't pioneers. What are you talking about? Well, yes, we were. I'm sorry that I won't mention any names, but he knows who he is that said, you're not a pioneer. I said, yes, we were pioneers. We had a lot of fun. We traveled around in a 35-foot-long Oldsmobile Toronado, had 3 bucket seats across, 5 rows of bucket seats, a bench seat for the coach and the driver, and a compartment in the back to hold our luggage and the ball bags and the comedian's kit and everything. We played a ball game every night, sometimes twice on Sundays, always with men, never carried our team or any team. We would always play the men. In our program, there was a telegram from the owner, Mr. Moore, and he said, any women's team that would like to play the Redheads, Mr. Moore said, I will put up $1 million, and the other team put up $1 million, and winner take all. And so we never got any gal teams to take us on, which I was kind of glad. I won't go. It was a lot of fun. Now, to compare it to, say, the WNBA, of course, they practice against men, but it wasn't the same kind of basketball, of course. But the difference between even when I was in high school, Chris, and to how the women play today is unbelievable. It's truly unbelievable. My high school career and even my professional career, and we were similar to the Globetrotters in that we put on a show. We would put on a halftime show when the men were catching their breath. The Redheads were putting on their halftime show. We had ball handling routines, trick shots, all sorts of things. So the Redheads, it was an opportunity that not many girls have ever gotten, and I am very, very proud and glad to have been one.
And the Redheads started playing in 1936. Are they still an organization somewhere, or has that phased out?
We do have an All-American Redheads organization, and we have reunions every couple of years. Have been in the last reunion was just recently, and I didn't get to attend. Other things came up, but was in Arkansas, and we were inducted into the Arkansas. I believe it was the Arkansas Basketball Hall of Fame. So there are several different halls that have acknowledged the Redheads. So we are in several. But yes, we do have reunions. There are a lot of us out there. Not all of us show up, but when we do, we have a grand time talking about we hear the older gals tell about their stories, and then they listen to our stories, and it was just a lot of fun.
Okay, you were in the Navy and went overseas. Is that correct?
That's correct.
How was that?
Well, it was very interesting. I was in a VP squadron. That's a patrol squadron. So we would deploy. We would pack up everybody and all of our planes and everything, and we would deploy to another country. My first time, I went to Spain. My second deployment was Iceland. And that's where that Iceland base was a NATO base. So there were Air Force, Marines, Army, and Navy on that base. That's where I joined the basketball team. And that's where we went to a tournament in Scotland. And it was the Northern European tournament. And actually, I'm trying to think if it was a round robin. I don't believe it was. I think it was single elimination, and we did win. Our team did win. And well, that was interesting. I mean, it was playing basketball in a whole different aspect, so to speak. All different military personnel, and they may have played in, some of them were college players, some of them high school players, some of them hadn't played at all, might have played just pickup, but got together as a team and did very well. Like I say, won a championship, Northern European Championship. That was lots of fun.
I bet it was. Now, let's talk a little bit about what position you played and what things you could do. Because now, obviously, it's changed to where now you hear there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on the court, where it used to just be point guard, shooting guard, and all those changes. So what did you play, and where do you think you would fit in if you were playing now today?
Whoa, I was forward. If I were playing today, I'd be glad. I would. If lace them up and go out there right now, I'd do it. Shoot around a bit when I can find a basket somewhere that nobody's using, but it's so much different now than it was. It's hard, Chris, to answer that question. Sort of. I don't really know what to say. That's hard to. You caught me off guard a little on that one, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
were you a ball handler? Were you a shooter?
I was a shooter. I didn't ball handle a lot. We had certain plays that we used and ran when we were on the Redheads. I wasn't a power forward by any means, but a forward. And shooting, I shot outside shots. We never had a 3-point line or anything,
right.
But I was an outside shooter. No trick shots except at halftime, things like that. But we just ran what we ran, and when it was we shared the ball. When it was my turn to have it, I got it and did what I needed to do with it. And not always with at least a good laugh.
Yeah. Now, you went and played softball at the Kansas State College of Pittsburgh. And then while you were playing softball there, you also were serving as an assistant basketball coach. So talk a little bit about, you mentioned that softball wasn't as big a sport when you were in high school, but you went to college to play. And then how was it to be a player in college and also an assistant coach at the same time?
Right. Well, of course, I was the assistant coach in basketball, and that team, Kansas State College of Pittsburgh. It's Pittsburgh State University now, but then they didn't hardly their basketball team, I don't think, had ever won a game. So the basketball coach really wasn't a basketball coach, but they just kind of put her in that position, as you know how it goes. Someone that knew her, knew me, and hooked us up. I helped her. I was the assistant coach. We did win 3 games that year, so I thought that was very good. It was interesting to coach gals that were just a few years younger than myself. That was an aspect I'd never really encountered before. I had coached along the line some younger girls, like 4th and 5th graders. That's different, but coaching college was interesting, something that I'd never done before or really didn't have any schooling in doing, but it was a lot of fun in that respect. And the softball, oh, I loved it. The first game we played, I played first base, and it had rained, and there was a gully alongside first base, and the catcher, I think a batter hit the ball. The catcher was just like a dribbler, and the catcher picks it up, and she throws it to first, and she doesn't want to hit the runner, of course, so she throws it way outside the base. I reach for it. My foot goes off the side of the base into that gully. So there was my softball career almost, because I had a bad ankle sprain, capillaries were pulled, all kinds of things, they said. So the rest of the season, the thing that I did was go to every game and watch. And then when it was practice and such, I'd go in the ice room. The fun thing about that, they put me in a 5-gallon bucket of crushed ice. And then she would have 2 broomsticks. and she'd walk out of the room, shut the door. And the first time she did that, I thought, this is very strange. Why is she handing me these broomsticks? Well, after my foot up to my knee almost was in that 5-gallon bucket of ice, crushed ice, well, I began to beat on the side of that bucket like there was no part. It helped the fact that my foot was in that cold
Yeah.
until the very last game, Chris. And then she put me in. She must have felt sorry for me. She put me in, and I don't think now this has been years ago, and I don't think she really knew. They'd never seen me bat other than in practice. So, and fast pitch, all you got to do is time it. If there's a pitcher that's pitching fast and you can come around on that ball and hit the sweet spot, you're in like Flint. So I waited and I waited and I waited, and she pitched one, and I swung just right. And that ball, I can still see the center fielder to this day. She made a jump forward, and then you could see her. Oh, she looked, and her eyes went up, and that ball was over her head. And of course, I shouldn't say this, but I run like a little fat girl. Now, I'm just saying I do. I'm not saying anything about fat people, believe me. But I run like a little fat girl. And fast as I could, boo, I'm going around, made a triple. And I looked over to Coach, and her mouth was about down to her belly button. She couldn't believe that's the season. So I was batting 1,000 and had a good season after all. So
well, there you go.
Yes, and it was fun.
How did you become a part of Redheads? How did that all evolve, and what went into you becoming a part of that?
I had a friend in high school. Her name was Brenda Glancy, and she came to me one day and said, Joni, my aunt went to a ball game, and they were the All-American Redheads. And she said, here's a program. And on the back of the program, there was a application. It was an application for Camp Courage. The man that owned the Redheads had an all-sports camp in Holly Springs, Mississippi. It was basically basketball, but they did other things also. So all you had to do was fill out the application to go. I went for a week of basketball, just basics. I was out. It was after I graduated. I didn't really have any plans right away. So I went to Mr. Moore's all sports camp in Holly Springs, Mississippi. And we just did basic basketball. But Mr. Moore, his brother Jack, was also a coach. Ben Overman was a coach. They were all there. Some of the Redheads were there, and a lot of campers. And we played basketball during the day, and then we relaxed a bit during the afternoon. Holly Springs, Mississippi in the summer is a bit hot. And then in the evening into the night, we would play basketball. Just play and practice and drills and things like that. And I loved it. I love basketball. So it was fun for me. The camp was fun. I hadn't really ever done anything like that. And at the end of the camp, they had a ceremony, and I was picked to be, I think I was the most valuable, or most improved, I think, was the little plaque that I got. And I was standing outside after the ceremony and just catching a breath, and the owner, Mr. Moore, walked up to me. And I can't do like he did. He was one Southern gentleman. In other words, I can't do his accent, but
right.
he stood up and he stood beside me. He says, well, Joni, how would you like to play for the All-American Redheads? And I thought in my mind, I was like, oh my gosh. And then, he probably says this to all the girls. And then I kind of chuckled. I said, oh, Mr. Moore, that would be a great opportunity. And he said, you don't call me. I'll give you a call. I thought, well, he probably says that to all of the girls. Then I went away from camp with a lot of good memories. And later that summer, I was working in a local factory, and came home one evening, and my mother was all excited. Guess who called? I don't know, Mom. Who called? Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore. For a moment, I couldn't remember. Mr. Moore. He goes, the basketball man. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so the phone would ring and I'd answer. And if it wasn't Mr. Moore, I'd say, I can't talk right now. I'm expecting a call. To think back on that 50 years, how I acted. And he did call. And I answered, and he said, how would you like to play? And I just was flabbergasted. I said, oh, what a wonderful opportunity. I'll send you a contract, sign it, send it back. I'll send you an airplane ticket to get to camp, and we'll go from there. And that was the beginning. That was the beginning.
Fantastic.
Oh, it was so much fun, Chris. It was a small town girl, never gone many places other than where I lived and things like that, never really been out of the state. And then to have something like that happen and to get paid to play basketball, that was, to me, unbelievable. I still have my first contract. I was looking for it. I found a lot of other memorabilia, but I couldn't find it. But I can tell you, it was a contract for $250 a month, which came out to $213.86 after Uncle Sam got his. And I mean, $5 a day to eat 3 squares on, that was per diem, and got paid to play basketball. So $213 to me was like $213,000 as far as that goes.
Right.
To be able to say, I'm getting paid to do something I love to do. So it made me grow up really fast, but I'll never forget the experiences that I had when I played for the All-American Redheads.
What advice or what would you say to today's girls high school players to, how to appreciate more of the opportunities that they have, and also what advice would you give them if they want to continue their career after high school?
First off, the advice would be never give up. If you want to play anything, play it, practice it like there's no tomorrow. And just know in your heart and your mind that you can do anything that you want to do. That would be the first thing I would say to them. And then I would say, don't forget that this is an opportunity that you have been afforded, that maybe your mother was afforded, but not like you have been afforded. So if you want to continue with your college education and play basketball, do it. But know that you can do it. Just know that anything you set your mind to, you can do. And that would be most of it. And I would always say, even though you're a young girl, don't be afraid to speak your mind and voice your opinion, and let everyone know that you are able and willing and ready to play basketball or do whatever it takes to get to the next level.
Well, I appreciate you joining me today, and it's quite an honor and a pleasure again to talk to you. Just a fantastic career, a lot of great memories, and I'm sure that the advice that you give to the young ladies, hopefully they'll take that to heart and continue working hard. That seems to be the theme that you have. Just continue to work hard and believe in yourself that you can achieve.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Chris.
Well, I appreciate it again. Thank you for coming on today. And for the Peanut Gallery, this is Chris Landis signing out.